Hello, welcome to my presentation. Today, I'm going to talk about my project in Aspis Energy. First of all, I would like to give a brief information about Aspis Energy. The purpose of its establishment is to meet the basic needs of the Turkish armed forces, which are rechargeable batteries. And Aspis Energy has increased its product range to over 150 and has become capable of producing all kinds of civil and military handbag radios, war equipment, and batteries for aircraft and helicopters. After this information, I want to show the system. I did my project in the strategy planning department. As we can see from here, strategy planning department consists of 3 units. The first one is corporate communications, the other one is contract management, and the last one is planning. I work in contract management units. The main purpose of it is to ensure that the contract rates is targeted effectively within the framework of accepted policies and strategies without exceeding the time. And this process consists of many successive steps. Let's talk about the problem definition in my project. Actually, this part is very critical and very important. As far as I observed in these units, I mean contract management, the main problem is that there is no certain standardization of the contract process, and this situation causes some problem. For example, losing of information, time problem, and etc. I found this problem definition part by using the 5 why method. We can see from this figure. Finally, I find no standardization for the process. This is the main problem for me, for my projects. Now, I would like to mention that my aim in project. The main purpose of this project is to save time in the follow-up to contract management process and standardize the contract type with Excel table method with critical points. Now, let's move on to the proposed model. As I said before, I use 5S method for this part. We can see from this figure, this is a 5S steps. The first steps is sort. For the first steps, I group contracts with the contract management specialist according to contract types and rank them in order of the importance. We can see from this figure, this is the old version, this is the new version. I ranked and grouped. The second step, which is set in order, I recorded the important points in the contracts in a 13-column table in Excel, according to strategy of Aspis Energy. Actually, we can see from this figure, we have 13 columns. For example, company name, contract types, and then end start date and remaining day, and like that. Actually, I want to show the this remaining day column, I mean E column. It's a very important point because the contract specialist wanted to see contracts that are expiring, contracts in progress, and contracts that are about to expire. So I scaled the remaining days column to be more noticeable with colors within the sorting range. As I mentioned before, the column below were created by the contract specialist, identification of critical points. Thanks to this Excel table, contracts will now be classified and only according to critical points. And people working in contract management can look at this table and look at the critical points of the contract. And also they can use the filtering techniques. Actually, these techniques save time. So it's a very important for this step. Now let's talk about step 3, which is shine. It is a contract management specialist's responsibility to group contracts every day to prevent contract accumulations and to group them regularly. Contracts received during working hours must be grouped and entered in the Excel table according to appropriate criteria. Let's talk about the standardization step. If I were to talk about the step 4, ungrouping and accumulation of contract should be prevented by regular follow-up. So I created the checklist. We can see from this figure, and we can see the steps or details of it. Actually, in this way, we provide the standardization The last step for sustainability, actually, it's very important, and because the contract management process take a lot of time, so contract specialists should take a break as much as he earns in this process. In this way, both the motivation of the contract management specialist is increased and work is sustainable. As a conclusion, the main problem, lack of standardization for the follow-up to contract process. First of all, the critical points that are important in the contracts were determined by Mehmet Akif Şahin, who is the contract management specialist, and transferred to the Excel with appropriate techniques. In the continuation of this project, every new contract will be transferred to the Excel, and contract tracking will continue with this model. And that's all. Thanks for listening to me.